Welcome back to another episode of Stacking Dennys. I'm Jordan McAbee of RotoBaller. My co-host Nick Giffen of the Action Network. Ross Chastain from last to first takes the Coca-Cola 600 victory after a dominating night by William Byron, leading 283 of the 400 laps. Kyle Larson looked like he was going to go on one of his another dominating efforts for him. He ended up wrecking himself. William Byron swept all three stages, but lost the lead there at the end to Ross Chastain, who, like I said, wrecked in practice, started dead last, but ended up in victory lane at the end of the night. It was Amazon Prime's first broadcast of the season. A lot of rave reviews there. Ratings weren't amazing, but I think they were good for streaming. But Amazon Prime did a great job. Chase Briscoe ends up as the top Toyota. Nick, I know you and I were both on Chase Briscoe for top Toyota, 13-1. He ends up third after winning the pole. AJ Allmendinger strong all night. He comes away with a top 5 finish. Brad Keselowski gets a top 5 finish, his first good finish of the season. Finally grabs his first top 10 in the 13th race of the season. Chase Elliott, top forward. Yep. Chase Elliott, Michael McDowell, Christopher Bell, Ryan Preece, and Noah Gragson rounding out the top 10. Nick, what did you think of that race?
It was a good race. I mean, obviously the good race poll.
Was it the best race of the season? Because that's what the good race poll says.
Yeah. No, I know. I think, and I agree with people, I think it got a 5 to 10% boost just by the fact that it wasn't Fox and it was Amazon 100%. Prime that did a very good job. It wasn't a bad race by any means. I mean, it was a very good race. I enjoyed it. I loved the fact that we saw passes for the lead, not just on restarts, or not just in the pits. On track passes for the lead by merit. Mm-hmm. That's what we want, right? Now, that said, it's still a little hard to pass. There's still some aero blocking, especially by the leader. And, it'd be nicer if the faster car could get by a little easier. But, of course, it also makes for really fun battles. So, nothing wrong with that. Flags, exactly. Popping up there. Yeah, Flags had a monster day. Again, at these 1.5-mile tracks, Flags has been just badass, which is, if you don't know what Flags is, that's my practice and race speed metric. For practice, I do practice flags, and for the race, I do race flags. The guys that shined in practice flags did really well in the race. But I mean, it honestly was a good race. I actually took a NASCAR nap halfway through stage 1 and through the halfway through stage 2 because I got up early from Monaco. I'd been working my ass off for 3 or 4 days straight, nonstop. If I was awake, I was working pretty much. Just with Indy and Coke 600 and even Monaco and all that stuff. So took a little NASCAR nap from halfway through stage 1 to halfway through stage 2, woke up and it was a great race from there. So yeah, very good race. I don't know if it was the best race of the season, but absolutely deserved a good rating in the good race poll.
Yeah, I think I definitely think you're on something there. I think a little bit of it, or maybe even a big part of it, is the bias of the recency bias of going from just absolute shit broadcast by Fox to Amazon Prime, which, we had a pre-race show, we had a post-race show.
That was awesome.
Guys were drinking honestly, on the post-race show.
A+. I maybe anything's an A+ compared to Fox, but honestly, that was an A+ broadcast. Mm-hmm. I really didn't have many issues. I mean, the picture's crystal clear, right? Because it's stream 4K, whatever. I thought the graphics were nice. They weren't maybe the most fancy, flashiest, but for starting up, I thought the graphics were really good. Having commentators, that were just happy to be commentating a NASCAR race and sounding excited is a breath of fresh air. It was an A+ in my opinion. And, the post-race show, like you said, toasting, having a drink on the set. I mean, That's what NASCAR fans want. Those are the fun things we want. We don't want those stupid, corny dad jokes and, just absolute boringness from Fox. I mean, what we want is what Amazon Prime delivered.
Yeah. And I think, and to be transparent, I did not get to watch a ton of this race, and what I did get to watch, I basically got to watch the last stage. I was following along on my phone for the first 3 stages. I got to watch the last stage, but I didn't have any sound. I was at a bar. I was a little inebriated. So it was very fun to watch this race, having Chase Briscoe top Toyota. I know you live bet Ross Chastain 30-1 live. in that swing of the last stage had to just be amazing for you to finally see your luck turn around, hit those bets, hits the Chastain 30-1. We got Briscoe top Toyota after, Hamlin their team didn't get his fuel cell full. Reddick had his issues, gets Briscoe into the top Toyota position. Just overall, a good turn of events there at the end and a nice swing finally in your favor.
Yeah, and I thought it was going to be bad luck again. I thought Hamlin was going to somehow pit Byron for the win. Gregson had a mistake on the last pit stop, which, or I should say on the pit stop between stage 3 and stage 4, which sent him to the back. But we got a few fortunate breaks, which, the breaks have been going all against me so far this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought they were starting to go against me again, but everything turned around. Hit Ross 30-1 live, hit that Brad Keselowski top Ford plus 750, hit Briscoe top Toyota plus 1300, hit Noah Gragson top 10 plus 470, over 27.5 lead changes. The only things I didn't hit were my head-to-head matchups, which I really liked. I had Alex Bowman over Ross Chastain, which I guess wasn't that great. And then I had Bubba Wallace over Kyle Busch, which also wasn't that great. But those are like the only two things I didn't hit. And honestly, if Bowman hadn't had his issues, which actually I fell asleep for, maybe he would have beaten Ross. Who knows? He looked pretty good. He was up there in flags as well. But I think by far and away, Ross had the best car. It just took a long time to get through traffic. And he said his primary was even better, right? Because he had a flat tire in practice and crashed the primary.
Well, that's the thing. I'm pretty sure that was the primary because I saw a tweet where they went back. They took that primary that he wrecked to the shop and they fixed it. They didn't go to a backup.
I thought they did because he said it wasn't on the post-race show. He said it wasn't as good as the primary. But
oh, really?
Or maybe he said it wasn't as good as it was in practice or something. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. I saw a message before the race that said that they fixed the primary, but I could be wrong. Gotcha. And if that's true, because we were talking about it in the RotoBaller Discord.
I thought he said it was the Nashville car they went to on the post-race broadcast. He said, "Oh, we went to the Nashville car."
Oh, that could be right.
Nashville.
I was going by that it was still the primary, and like if that was the case, I'm like, then they know that car is that good that they fixed it to do that. But still, just a great effort for them. Trackhouse gets in victory lane. Byron kind of he makes that mistake. And
it was confirmed backup. Yeah.
Was it confirmed backup?
Yeah. Worst first after crashing in practice, Ross Chastain drove through the field in a backup car for the Charlotte victory.
Okay. Yeah. My information was wrong then. I thought it was still the primary, but still, just a great weekend for those guys. Like if they can figure out qualifying, I think they'll get a few more wins this year. Just because he typically has race speed, but obviously he didn't get to qualify this weekend, but previous other races this year, qualifying hasn't been good for that one team. So, but Ross Chastain's in victory lane. We got another guy locked into the playoffs. Kyle Larson once again Rex in the Coke 600. Rex from the lead, also wrecked in the Indy 500. Not a good day for him, and he basically said, I don't know if it was that day or the next day after that, the logistics of doing the double basically make it impossible. So whether we'll see an attempt again, I'm not sure, but from those comments, I have a feeling we won't.
Yeah, I think Kyle Larson is resigned to not doing the double. He still wants to race the Indy 500, but that could be a kind of a retirement thing, or if the schedule gets moved around to make the double a more convenient option, then maybe he would revisit that. The Indy 500 used to start at 11 a.m. local time, Indy time. Now it starts at 12:45 Indy time. They moved it back to 12, and now with TV, it's pushed even further back to 12:45. The way TV is these days with pre-race shows and stuff. So, if we can even capture 45 minutes of that back and get close to a noon start, like let's say, 12:07 or something like that. If we can capture 35, 40 of those minutes back and then not have rain delays, it makes a much more viable option to be able to do both. But yeah, I think Kyle Larson is done with double attempts for the time being.
It was still a fun story to pay attention to. And, I think it brought a ton of eyes, or not a ton of eyes, but definitely some eyes to the IndyCar race. IndyCar put up huge numbers. Yeah. What was it? Over 7 million viewers, most they've had in however long.
Since 2008. Yeah.
Yeah. So good thing there.
More viewers than the Daytona 500.
despite the fact that I don't think the broadcast was bad. I think Fox did a decent job with the broadcast, except for their leaderboard just did not work the entire race. I mean, there were sections.
Yeah, and I saw you tweet, like, do they just not care? They absolutely do care. At least for IndyCar, they've been making improvements race by race by race with the graphics and the broadcast and all that stuff. It's just they haven't done IndyCar before, so it's potentially a little bit different technology. Also, just you have to code everything up and get everything all set up completely from scratch. So I've seen massive improvements in the Fox broadcast over the 6 races so far. So clearly they care. I mean, they've invested a massive amount into IndyCar between Super Bowl advertising and all this other stuff. Massive pre-race show. I mean, they had a 2-hour-long pre-race to the pre-race show. I mean, they're really put everything into it, and it showed. It paid off with the largest audience in 17, something like that, years. And the broadcast overall was very good. It wasn't an A+ like the Prime broadcast. They definitely have things to fix. You mentioned the scoreboard flip-flopping and all that when it shouldn't be. Also, just they literally missed Alex Palou crossing the finish line and the checkered flag waving. I don't think that's happened in IndyCar in the Indy 500, and as long as I can remember, not seeing a live shot of the driver crossing the yard of bricks to win the race. So that was something. And, just a couple other little minor things, but I would give them, a solid B- to B overall for their broadcast.
Yeah, like I said, I think the broadcast itself was solid. I mean, I paid attention to it, and I don't watch IndyCar, so that says something. But like the leaderboard issue, like we see that a lot with NASCAR too, and I just wonder if it's their technology, because like I don't see these issues at NBC or Prime or anywhere else.
Sure.
But that's the only thing. I was just like, what the fuck? But yeah, overall, I mean, it was a good race weekend. Good 3 set of races. I didn't watch any in Monaco, but I think for what it was and what we expected, it was solid. And, Coca-Cola 600 Charlotte put on one of the better races of the year, with now everybody calling for the removal of the Roval and let's do 2 races at Charlotte. And it's just another testament to this intermediate package for this next gen car, and what it's capable of.
Yeah. And unfortunately, it just seems to be the intermediate package, and that's it right now. Although, we did see a better race at North Wilkesboro with the really soft tires, so that was good. But still improvements to go on this car, even at intermediates, right? It's not getting as good as it was the first couple years with the next gen car. It's getting more and more difficult to pass. So I think that's teams just kind of optimizing the car. So still some things, but very good race at Charlotte. And I think, just overall, just fantastic race weekend. I can't begin to tell you, I had a great weekend in terms of betting. I was over 16 units total. That doesn't even include some of the grid rival stuff that I had, which I can't really track in the Action app. But the Indy 500, first, second, third, and fourth, as they cross the line, I'm not talking with the penalties, but as they cross the line, if I could have picked those 4 drivers to finish first through fourth, that would have been the last order I would have chosen them in, because any other order, I guess maybe except flipping Ferrucci and Ericsson second and third didn't really change anything. But if Pato had been third and Malukas had been fourth, I would have hit my 110-1 trifecta box. And then I would have got Pato into the top 3 in place of Malukas, which is fine. I would have lost the 6-1, but I would have hit it in 110-1. Or if we had flipped, Ericsson to the win, or Malukas to the win, or Pato to the win, I would have had the race winner. And then, all sorts of stuff, just like literally those 4. I'm glad they finished 1 through 4, because I had, aside from Palou bets, but I did have Honda to win. Any other order of the top 4, again, aside from maybe breaking the same result with second and third, would have been an even bigger payday. Now, it was still a very, very good race, and there were the penalties. So Marcus Ericsson, the runner-up, got penalized. Kyle Kirkwood finished 6th, got penalized, and Callum Eilert finished 12th, got penalized, all getting their race results nullified, finishing 31st, 32nd, and 33rd. But pretty much every sports book, especially with IndyCar, grades it as they cross the line because inspections 24 hours later, they've already paid all that out. So the results stand. And I fucking smacked that analysis on that Indy 500. Okay.
That was a very impressive. I think I tweeted out, like, I knew it was going to be good, but I didn't expect it to be that good after I read it. I was like, holy shit. So yeah, that was awesome.
Sport in the world, right? Like even more than NASCAR, even more than soccer or NFL or college basketball, right? Like not NASCAR. IndyCar is like my jam. I know everything about IndyCar, and I think you saw it in the betting guide, and people were weird enough to complain that it's not a betting guide because it doesn't have picks. It can still be a guide to how to bet the race, yes, without picks, because then there's the picks article after that. So I don't know. People always have to find something to complain about, even when you put in just the most crazy amount of work. They don't appreciate it, and they'll just want to complain.
It's so ironic that we have a segment called Wine About It.
I know, right?
Anything else from the Coca-Cola 600 before we move on to the standings quick? Other than, of course, I bet Ricky Stenhouse Jr. to finish top 10, and he finished
11th. Yeah, at the expense of Noah Gragson too. Or Noah Gragson at the expense of Stenhouse, I should say. So, I mean, I guess I deserved the luck over you, at least for just once.
Yeah.
But I mean, you got the Briscoe top Toyota too, right? Because that was the bet you found. We talked about it on Stacking Dennys. Like, I wanted to be on Briscoe. I didn't feel right about 35-1 outright. And then once you tracked 13-1 top Toyota, I was, oh yeah, all over that. That's the Briscoe bet I'm looking for.
Yeah. SVG comes home 14th. There's a little noteworthy there.
Trackhouse, good Trackhouse track, but also some attrition there. Daniel Suarez in another wreck. Not a good season for him at all.
You know what I was waiting for after the race?
When
Keselowski finished 5th, I was waiting for him to get DQ'd. Like, just the way his season were going, I'm like, he's going to get DQ'd. This is what's going to happen. But yeah, SVG, last 3 races, 14th, 20th, and 22nd. So, we're used to him finishing in the 30s, and whether through attrition or a little bit of luck, these last few weeks, he's improving.
Yeah, and also shout outs to Jim Sanas. So on Saturday night, I went on VSiN, which is Vegas-based radio betting show, and I gave out if you're looking for kind of an auxiliary bet, not just your outrights or something like that, I was like, I'm really borderline on Noah Gragson top 10. And then Sunday, day of, I see Jim track Noah Gragson top 10, saying he had value on him. My model was like just barely. I mean, I'm talking like Gragson was plus 470 for a top 10, and my model had him like plus 465. But he was so high in flags. I think he was 2nd or 3rd in my flags metric, if I remember correctly. Definitely wasn't worse than 3rd. He may have been 2nd. And my model was so close. And then you take Jim's model, which has value. And I'm a big fan of model averaging, right? There isn't one right model, but when you do a wisdom of the crowds approach, and tends to be better. So shout outs to Jim for pushing me over the edge on Noah Gragson. But I mean, I was right there, and I kind of gave him out the night before anyway, if you heard the radio show. So just happy about that. I'm just happy to have had my
finally a good week.
Best. And I'm not talking just NASCAR, like best motorsports triple header weekend ever. So that was pretty cool. And I missed Pato Award top 3 for my 3-leg round robin parlay thing. If that had counted, which it didn't, then I would have won one of the legs of my 3-leg round robin as well. But again, just had the worst possible finishing order for the top 4 at Indy, which was still a very profitable top 4, just the worst possible top 4 of the profitable top 4.
Yeah. All right. Anything else from Coke 600?
Nah. William Byron, 1 stage 1, 1 stage 2, 1 stage 3.
I am so glad I picked him in 36 for 36.
Did I pick Ross? Points. I feel like I did.
You picked Ross. We had a good week at 36 for 36. Nice. You had Ross. I had Byron. Carson Hocevar. Did not talk about him, but up there battling for the lead, his engine just grenaded.
Yeah.
And man, that he has to be frustrated as hell, but the way that he's running, you have to believe that they might grab a win here soon.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can't complain about getting 50 points from a Ross Chastain race. Let's see. He has 350 points so far, and we have run, 13 races? Yeah, 13
races.
So let me do the math on that. Calculator, 350 divided by 13. 26.9. Nice.
Nice.
Points per race, and I got 50. So, I'm looking at a 23 point plus minus there on Ross Chastain.
There we go. All right, getting to the standings. So William Byron, points leader now over Kyle Larson.
We didn't talk about Kyle Larson. I mean, we did, but we didn't. That dude just wrecks everything, apparently.
He I know you tweeted about it. Like, damn it, Larson. I don't know. It's kind of just his MO though, isn't it? Like, he's always kind of been the wild card. Like, the ceiling's way up there.
Yep.
The floor's way down there. And it's like this when I'm putting my hand up and down for anybody just listening. There's no such thing as just, steadiness with Kyle Larson. You're
kind of the definition of checkers or wreckers, right?
Right. Like, he's so fun to watch, but like, you have to wonder how many championships he'll actually be able to win with that up and downness, especially with this playoff format.
Yeah, 3 crashes in the IndyCar this year, and 2 in the same Coca-Cola 600. Right, he spun out onto pit road and then had another accident where it wasn't his fault. He got caught up in the Daniel Suarez one, but it's because he was trying to make up ground, and so he was behind because of his previous incidents. So he kind of put himself in that position. So, yeah, rough weekend for Kyle Larson.
Yeah, and another rough weekend for a couple of guys that have had rough seasons. Well, relatively rough seasons. I say that as they're sitting 7th and 12th in the point standings. But Ryan Blaney and Bubba Wallace grabbed their 5th DNF of the season. Both of them sitting up there with 5 DNFs through 13 races, which is, that's back marker type numbers. Even someone like Keselowski's also up at 5. But just to put into perspective how bad his season's been compared to them. But William Byron, top of the points now after Charlotte. Kyle Larson second, Christopher Bell. A couple of lower or mid to lower tier guys that we've been keeping an eye on as we're looking at these point standings. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. comes away with 11th place finish. He is now 13th place in the points. He's in if the playoffs started today. The cut line is now right above Chris Buescher. So Josh Berry's in. He's 17th in points. He's in with that win. Cut line would be Cindric, between Cindric and Buescher. Another guy, top 5 finish at Charlotte, AJ Allmendinger, sitting 18th in points. We've been tracking him. Another good run for that team. Staying in the playoff hunt, kind of when it comes to points. Obviously, we expect this cutoff line for the points to keep jumping up. Expect SVG to get a win. Keselowski might grab a win. Guys like that are further down in the point standings very well could grab a win this year. Chastain's in now with a win. He's 8th in points. Let's see. Briscoe's sitting 11th. Anything else standing out to you as we look through these standings other than NASCAR.com taking away the plus and minus? It's really messing me up.
Yeah, well, Chris Buescher getting us 30 points of his 60 back that he lost on the penalty to an appeal. So he moves back up to 16th in the standings, 6 points behind the cut line now, because Austin Cindric has that win. So Ryan Preece is the cut line, and Ryan Preece is in by 6 points. Chris Buescher out by 6 points, and 10 points down to Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who's still inside the playoff cut line with that 11th place finish. AJ Allmendinger 18th in points, up to 267 points, only 7 behind Chris Buescher. So, Buescher 6 points back of the cut line, Allmendinger 13 points back of the cut line. If he doesn't, win one of these road courses that are coming up here. So And even if he doesn't, he probably will get good results in them to help keep him near that cut line. And we're going to a concrete track, which will be good for him. And then Michigan, and then, a road course race. We could see AJ Allmendinger inside the cut line coming out of Mexico City potentially.
I'll tell you what, there's a lot of drivers that I could consider as my most surprising so far. I think mine is going to be AJ Allmendinger right now. Mm-hmm. I did not have anywhere near, like, the ceiling for him would be like 25th in points. And he just, he had a legitimate top 5 run at Charlotte all day, all weekend, practice, qualifying, everything. AJ Allmendinger was there. And Colleague, I like to shit on him, but between Allmendinger and Ty Dillon doing his thing, getting top 20s, they're having relatively a pretty good season. So definitely, I think something to keep an eye on, like you said, moving forward, because obviously it's expected. He's probably going to win a road course. SVG is probably going to win a road course. This could very well get some big name drivers out of the playoffs. I'm talking, like the Alex Bowmans, Chase Briscoes, Bubba Wallace's, guys like that could easily not make the playoffs this year. Yeah, and not off of super speedway fluke wins, whereas like road courses, I think are a little bit more legitimate in my eyes than super speedways.
Yeah, for sure. And another thing, Toyota now hasn't won in the last 5 races. It's been 6 races since their last win, which was Denny Hamlin at Darlington. Is Toyota falling off a little bit? I mean, we've seen Bubba Wallace struggling and DNFing, but like even just before his DNF at Charlotte, he was struggling. Denny looked really good. I guess he was contending for the win. Chase Briscoe, he got 3rd, but again, it was a lot of late stuff for him. You talked about earlier how they made a lot of late adjustments and got better. That was kind of that thing there for him. But Toyota just hasn't really been the dominant team, the dominant manufacturer lately. If you look at Charlotte, of course, it was Byron. If you look at Kansas, it was Larson. If you look at Texas, it was Larson and Ford. If you look at Dega, well, Dega is Dega, but Toyota really hasn't been amazing at super speedways as of late. And at Bristol, it was all Larson. So potentially a little bit of Toyota fall off. I don't know.
Yeah, obviously, like Bell has those 3 wins this year, but really there was only one that I would consider, he actually went out and won that race. You know what I mean? Like Atlanta's Atlanta. Where else did he win at?
Coda and Phoenix.
I guess Coda's good. Coda's fine. Yeah. Hamlin has those 2 wins, but yeah, Briscoe, he put it on the pole at Charlotte. He led 1 lap. Yeah. Bubba Wallace has had a string of bad luck, but they're not showing a ton of speed. Tyler Reddick, he was really good for a lot of the race at Charlotte before his penalty. But
Tyler Reddick hasn't finished better than 14th in his last 5 races.
Mm-hmm. And it's I would say, like, even going back to like Homestead and these other races, Toyota, there are certain Toyotas where you're like, yeah, they should be good this week. And then the race actually starts and they have speed, but they don't have expected speed. And is that the Chevy and the Ford? I think my thing here is because Ford was the 3rd manufacturer, for the first couple of years of the next gen. I think Ford has caught up enough where it's put Toyota speed wise into 3rd. I really do think that. I think you're completely right on that.
And speaking of standings, Ty Gibbs, 25th in the points.
Mm-hmm. When are we going to start talking about him? People have lost their rides for less at Joe Gibbs Racing.
That's what I was saying that to you, I think, on Twitter during the 600. Eric Jones, when he was at Joe Gibbs Racing, he got 3 seasons on the flagship team, right? He also had that season with Furniture Row where he was in the 77 car. But in his 3 seasons at Joe Gibbs Racing, finished 15th, 16th, and 17th in points and got the act. Daniel Suarez, in his 2 seasons at Joe Gibbs Racing, finished 20th and 21st. So a little bit worse than Jones and only got 2 seasons. Well, Ty Gibbs, he's finished 18th and 15th, and now he's 25th. So he's had seasons comparable to Jones, and now he's in the midst of a season that's worse than Suarez. Shouldn't he be getting the axe after this season if his name wasn't Gibbs?
I would completely expect it out of Joe Gibbs Racing, and I think that would, like, I don't understand why people talk so much about Austin, and rightfully so, talk about Austin Dillon and the nepotism thing, and then just completely ignore Ty Gibbs, because he ain't doing it. Like, I know they say that this car takes, years to figure out, but at the same time, you shouldn't be regressing like Ty Gibbs is.
Yeah.
Like we've seen it with Austin Cindric, where he kind of stayed mediocre for the first few years, and now all of a sudden he's better. Ty Gibbs, it was a little bit better than average, and now he's declined quite a bit. So, yeah, I don't know. To me, if I was a reporter at the track every week, I'd start asking those questions, but that's a good way to get blacklisted, I guess.
Yep, it is. So certainly is.
That's what I need to do. Like, if I win the lottery, I'm gonna go to every race. I'm gonna be an official media member, and I'm just gonna get blacklisted by every fucking team by asking the questions like that. Like,
difficult questions.
Yeah. But anything else?
Not on the standings now.
Yeah, it's a lot of the same. Keselowski's, he had a good finish, but it didn't do anything for him. He's 32nd in points behind Ty Dillon. He needs to win.
He needs wins.
SVG needs to win. Suarez 30th in points behind Justin Haley.
Everybody.
Did I just see where he signed a contract extension, or am I crazy?
Haley or Suarez?
Suarez.
I don't think so. I didn't see anything about that, but
he's in a contract year.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I guess that's something that we need to keep an eye on too, is do they bring Suarez back?
Oh yeah. No, I mean, there's definitely implications there for Daniel Suarez. Justin Haley, by the way, not good when you compare him to his teammates. Carson Hosvar's been close to wins. Michael McDowell's even ahead of Hocevar in the standings. Justin Haley's already gone through a pit crew and a crew chief, and is sitting there, 29th, 30th in the point standings. Not going well for that guy. And I'm going to be honest. I wonder if it's a Justin Haley thing himself in terms of his personality, his attitude, all that stuff. Because remember when he was at Colleague, he wasn't working with his Colleague teammates very well to, on those super speedways. He was being selfish and taking those wins, and you could kind of see some rumblings of some frustration there. Mm-hmm. And so then he makes a move to Rick Ware Racing, which sounds ridiculous. And, we're like, well, maybe he'll parlay that into something. He parlayed it into a Spire Motorsports ride, which is the team he was with years ago, and he hasn't done anything. So you have to wonder if it's a Justin Haley issue at some point.
Yeah, I think you're definitely onto something there, because like you said, Carson Hocevar has legitimately had speed to not potentially win races this year, definitely finish top 5. Michael McDowell has been this sneaky 10th to 15th place guy every single week.
Mm-hmm.
Haley isn't showing anything. He has one top 10 finish. I think it was at Homestead. That's one of his best tracks. Good on you. But there's no way that that car, I understand that Spire expanded. We typically see some growing pains when teams expand. But it does seem like there is such a gap between him and his teammates that I don't know. And it makes it really difficult to handicap Justin Haley.
And I mean, honestly, if we kind of look at it, even in Xfinity, when he and Allmendinger were teammates, Allmendinger was better. Haley might have won some super speedways and stuff, but Allmendinger was the better driver. It seems, just aside from Rick Ware Racing, which had a revolving door in that second car last year, it seems pretty much anywhere Justin Haley goes, he makes second or third best driver on his team, depending on how many drivers are on the team. And now all of a sudden, Riding Childers leaves, pit crew gets sent over to one of the Hendrick teams, and it just seems like there's maybe a Justin Haley issue overall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, anytime a team lets go of a major crew chief like Rodney Childers, that sends shockwaves through the industry, it says a lot. and I'm sure we'll figure out more as time goes on into that. But yeah. All right, moving on from these point standings. I could go down a rabbit hole with most of these drivers, but wine about it. Presented by RotoBaller Winery. Oh shit! I got some wine today.
Nice.
I got the purple.
Purple rain. Let's go.
I think it's just purple now.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's just purple now.
Just purple.
I keep forgetting. I'm just so used to calling it that because that's some good glugging.
Is it?
Yeah, that was good.
There's something about the sound of wine being poured.
Yeah.
So my wine about it is kind of going to piggyback off of something that you mentioned earlier in the podcast, because coming into this episode, I didn't really have much. But you mentioned that through God, that's my favorite wine ever.
Jordan had to take a sip there.
I love that wine. And I don't like wine, and I love this one.
Yeah.
God, that's good. So you mentioned that IndyCar and Fox taking over, you've seen improvements. You've seen noticeable improvements. Yes, RotoBaller. I see that comment on there. Nice. I need to get up there and actually see and visit them.
You got to put our sponsor logo up here, right?
Oh yeah, I forgot. There we go. So you mentioned IndyCar. They've been getting better with the broadcast. Fox has been improving. It really pisses me off that I understand that they put a major investment into IndyCar. They're putting their best foot forward. Why? Maybe it's a jealousy thing for me. Why aren't they doing the exact same thing for NASCAR? Why are they refusing to acknowledge anything wrong with their NASCAR broadcast, except now that Prime came out and every single person on the planet, including people that do not have eyesight, said that was a better broadcast than Fox put together? Fox finally came out and said, we're going to go back and look at what we can do to improve. That's what it took, was Prime coming in and saying, fuck you, we're going to kick the shit out of this. And finally, Fox, instead of listening to the people that actually watch your damn broadcast, you finally saw that someone beat the shit out of you.
Yeah.
And NBC's been doing it for years, but they've been doing it marginally. Fox, it was such a drastic difference going from Amazon. It was such a drastic difference going from the last Fox broadcast to this one. They made it feel like a big event. They put time and effort into it. They have a good broadcast booth, which I think is a major point of any broadcast. That can make or break any broadcast. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care about the graphics. I don't care about any of that. It's the way that it is presented. Why does NASCAR just get the short end of the stick with Fox time after time when it's very apparent that they can and will put energy into motorsports? I don't get it. It pisses me off. I'm still pissed off that they have the Daytona 500 every year. I don't understand why NASCAR makes that deal.
I agree with you. Completely agree with you. I don't understand. And you could tell just over the past, let's say 3 seasons, the product has gotten worse and worse. Like, it hasn't gotten better and better. It's gotten worse and worse. They clearly were getting more and more checked out. We've said this many times on the podcast. Seems like they're checking out. And now all of a sudden Amazon, like you said, comes in, blows it out of the water with their product. And Fox is like, oh, we'll go review it or whatever. Just, I don't have anything good to say about NASCAR and Fox.
I know people like to complain about, now I have to have this streaming service to watch it. I have to do this, blah, blah. I understand that. I understand it's frustrating. I understand. I mean, even this past weekend, I had to go out to my parents' house and set up my Apple TV for them to watch it because they don't have Amazon Prime. But this should, in theory, make all of the broadcasts better because Amazon's going to actually put time and effort into it. And it's going to do things like this with Fox and hopefully NBC to also improve it.
Yep.
We can hope. We've been saying it for years. We can hope. But yeah, when you mentioned,
with as good as Amazon is, and if they're going to keep putting all this effort into NASCAR and doing all this, as the years go by, do they capture more and more of the races too?
I would hope so, but I also think it's going to be quite expensive for them because they had 9 minutes of full screen commercials. That's it.
Yep.
I mean, I understand they are taking a big portion of the cost for this, and they're not going to continually year after year just spend money on this.
Sure.
It's not how Amazon does things. But yeah, I don't know. I think this streaming thing, I'm big on streaming. I've always been big on streaming. I think it's going to be good for the sport overall. And I think this was a very good first weekend. This isn't a whine about it. This is turning into a positive now. I think this is a very good first weekend for streaming to show people the potential of it and how it can be better than traditional broadcast, and hopefully all around improves, because if it does, we will see better results as a whole, better ratings, the sport will grow, and it will be better.
Yep. My turn, I guess, huh?
Yep. I'm going to drink this one.
All right. So I have the RotoBaller Cabernet 2019. So we're getting into 6-year-old-ish wine now. Give it a good pour there. Get some wine ASMR. And as always, I'm going to give a sip before I get into my wine about it, because there's no waiting for me. Ooh, that's good. You can definitely tell it's an aged wine. I mean, not like crazy aged like some of them out there, but yeah, that is excellent. I love cabs in general, though, so this is always going to be my style of Cabernet. But this one has a little bit more I don't know if it's like, I'm really bad with naming flavors, but like the acidity and like kind of the bitterness is a little more front forward than other cabs. But it's a lot smoother than some other cabs as well. Even though it has kind of a front forward bite, it's smoother in the back of your mouth. So I like it. I'll never turn down a good cab. So that is my quick review of and I've had this before, but it's been a year since I've had it. So it's always a good refresher of the memory there. But my wine about it is going back to this Kyle Larson thing. Kyle Larson comes to Indianapolis and wrecks his car 3 times, all on his own doing. He wrecks it in the April test session when they go to the high boost qualifying trim. He wrecks it again in May in the high boost qualifying trim. And then in a race, he inexplicably, it's a restart, but he whatever that word is, I can't say it, inexplicably downshifts. And you can see and hear it in the car, in the in-car view. And both, James Hinchcliffe and Townsend Bell, who are former Indy drivers themselves, said, why is he downshifting? There's no need to. That downshift kicks him loose, gets on the apron and spins in front and takes out other drivers. So let's compare an IndyCar driver going to NASCAR, spinning and taking out a backmarker driver, Daniel Suarez, right? Because Daniel Suarez is 29th, 30th in the points. So at this point, he's a backmarker driver. Kyle Larson took out 2 relatively backmarker drivers in Giffen Simpson and Stingray Robb, who are not in the top 20 in points, or at least not in the top 16 or so. So NASCAR Twitter blows up with just Catherine Legg hate and scorn. And they don't do this when it's whatever other Joe Schmo backmarker, even if he spins out and wrecks, he shouldn't be in the car. No, only when Catherine Legg spins out and wrecks and takes out another driver does she get the hate that I see on Twitter. Kyle Larson did the same thing. He wrecks his car. Okay, he's not a backmarker driver. People are like, this is apples to orange comparison when I tweet this out, that why is Catherine Legg getting all the hate but Kyle Larson isn't? Apples to oranges. This isn't a fair comparison. All this stuff. Yeah, it is. It's totally a fair comparison. It's a visiting driver coming in, spinning out, and taking out some other backmarker drivers. It's literally an identical thing. And Not only did he do it once, he did it 3 times. It's just 2 of them happen to be in qualifying trim. There's not the hate when it happens in IndyCar as to when it happens in NASCAR with a woman driver coming into the series. I'm just going to call it out like it is and how I see it. I think it's a bit of sexism there and a bit of NASCArism there as well over IndyCar. Like it matters less in the Indy 500 of all races because it's Kyle Larson and he's the air quote greatest driver in the world. Annoys me. If you're going to complain about Catherine Legge being in the NASCAR race and spinning out, you got to complain about Kyle Larson being in IndyCar race and spinning out and taking out other drivers.
Yeah. Especially the way he did it. Like you said, there's no reason to downshift there. I mean, that is just you can't even call it a rookie mistake. That was just a mistake he's talented. Kyle Larson's talented. I'm not going to sit here and say he's not, but that is just.
I was called disingenuous for that. There's nothing disingenuous about that. That's just what the facts are. Those are just the facts. It is a very similar comparison. Yes, just because Kyle Larson was in good equipment is considered one of the best drivers in the world doesn't mean he shouldn't get the same ridicule that Catherine Legge does because they made the same mistake. They both spun out in front of other drivers on their own. That's it.
Yeah.
That's a apples to apples comparison. They both cross series, spun out in front of other drivers and took out other drivers from their own mistake.
I'm right there with you.
So hate Kyle Larson for coming in and ruin other people's races, just like you hate Catherine Legge for coming in and ruin other people's races.
And I think the issue here is neither of us complained about Catherine Legge being in that race or
I had no problem with Catherine being in that race. She's an absolutely fantastically talented driver. She made a mistake as well. Drivers are allowed to make mistakes. We see drivers make mistakes all the time.
Every week. Just
because it happened to be in your first cup race or whatever, doesn't mean you're a horrible driver. Catherine Legge has been in incidents in her other NASCAR races, none of which were her own doing, all of which she was a victim of other people's issues. Why aren't we complaining about those other people taking out Catherine Legge?
It's not how this world works, Nick.
Exactly. So that's my whine about it. Got a little fired up on it.
All right. As always, big thank you to Luvabella Winery. For some amazing wines. Make sure you check them out. Luvabella.com. Get them shipped directly to your door. We're on to Nashville. Nashville Superspeedway. It's not actually a Superspeedway. It is how big is Nashville? I always forget. I feel like this weekend is always the busiest weekend. Mile and a third. Concrete track. It's kind of flat, but it's considered an intermediate, I think, right?
Yeah, it's kind of flat. It's kind of banked. It has 14-degree banking. So it's like more banked than like a Phoenix, but not as, kind of like the same banking as I think it's Vegas or Kansas, one of those two. Whichever one is the more shallow banked of the two mile and a half. So I think it's Kansas.
Yeah,
it's so 15 degrees.
We've had 4 Cup Series races here. 4 different winners. Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Joey Logano, Ross Chastain have all won here. Denny Hamlin has been one of the best here. Average driver rating over the last 3 races here, 122.4. Chastain's at 110.1. Truex was at 107.7. Just to give you a comparison how far ahead Denny Hamlin has been from these other guys over the last 3 years.
Kansas is 17. Las Vegas is 17 to 20, and Las Vegas is 20 because it doesn't have variable banking. It's Texas. No, Texas is 2024. Kentucky is what it was. The repaved Kentucky and reconfigured Kentucky, I think, was 14 in turns 3 and 4. So it's kind of like the old Kentucky banking. We don't race at Kentucky anymore, but sorry, just had to get that out.
What about the comparison? Some people also like to compare Nashville to Dover because of the concrete.
Yeah, it's tough. Like certain drivers, I think, are better just on concrete in general. Denny Hamlin, AJ Allmendinger, right? These guys are really good in concrete tracks. It doesn't matter which concrete it is. But then there's also the kind of intermediate mile and a half-ish aspect to it. And there's kind of the flatness aspect to it in some ways as well. It is a unique track. It's a unique track. You can't compare it to Dover or Bristol because those are like steeply banked concrete tracks. And Nashville's more flat and races more like a mile and a half, but also races a little bit like a flat track. Like it's so unique.
Yeah.
But, I think you can pull in all of these different things and just kind of, say all these relatively similar tracks you can kind of say is current form for those tracks, and then say track history with Nashville as well. And so I think track history is going to be very important.
I think one thing, my mantra with this next gen car, not much changes. If the driver's good somewhere, they're going to be good the next year. And I think there have been a certain number of drivers. Obviously, we had this crazy race last year that went into like 5 overtimes. Joey Logano ended up victory lane. Zane Smith was second. But when you actually pull out the stats and not just look at the finishing order, we have guys that are always good here. And I don't think there's any reason why these guys, once again, won't be good this weekend at Nashville. Guys like Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell, Ross Chastain have all been really solid here. Christopher Bell swept the stages last year, 7th, 9th, 8th, and 9th in his other 3 starts here. Ross Chastain, like I said before, he won a race here. He has 3 top 5s in the 4 races here. He wrecked out last year. He led 45 laps last year. Denny Hamlin, like I said, best driver, average driver rating over the last 3 races here. He's led 70 or more laps each of the last 3 years at Nashville, has finished in the top 10 every single stage in the 4 years here at Nashville. Great track for him. Chase Elliott, previous winner here, top 5 in 2023, 6th in the second stage last year. Like, we have drivers that are good here. I don't think there's going to be a lot of surprises, but at the same time, we have the younger guys like Carson Hocevar, maybe the guys that moved over like Michael McDowell, that could also come into play here. But overall, I think there is a top tier at Nashville, and I don't expect it to change much. And there's also some guys that just simply haven't quite figured out this racetrack. Chase Briscoe is one of them. Not very good here at all. Never finished better than 21st. And obviously, he was with Stuart Haas before, but never really showed any speed here. A couple other guys that don't have good finishes here, at least. Alex Bowman, best finish of 14th in 4 starts here. Kind of just mediocre for him, despite, he's been good on the intermediates this year. William Byron has a couple of bad finishes here that kind of bring down his average. He does have a 6th place finish here and a 3rd place finish in the first Nashville race. Bad finishes otherwise. But could this be a week where we see a long shot, or do we think the favorites are going to shine yet again? Denny Hamlin right now, I believe, on all sportsbooks is the favorite for this weekend's race. A little bit surprised by that. Honestly, a little bit surprised that Christopher Bell's as long as he is. If there's one guy I'm looking to bet outright right now before practice and qualifying, it's Christopher Bell. I think you can get him at plus 750, which is good enough for me to bite on. I have not yet. The only bet I've made is Austin Dillon, top 10. FanDuel opened him at 14-1. I could not pass that up. He's finished 13th, 14th, and 12th here in 3 of the 4 races at Nashville. So I will gladly take 14-1 top 10 odds. Last I checked, I think it was down to 7 or maybe even 5. But what are your thoughts?
Honestly, I've got almost no thoughts because I've done almost zero work since big race day. Monday, I slept a lot on Monday. I said I was going to play video games all day. I didn't even do that. I ended up sleeping. And
those days are always good, though, like a reset day like that.
Yeah, exactly. And the last 2 days have been quite preoccupied. More on that later. But I've been quite preoccupied the last 2 days. So I haven't looked into Nashville at all. I'm going to be looking into it before I record Running Hot tonight. So now's my chance to kind of get back into the swing of things. Took a half day from work here today in terms of like my weekend is Monday, Tuesday. So I don't have to work Monday, Tuesday at all. And then I work Wednesday through Sunday, but took a half day today and going to be doing a lot the rest of today and tonight to prep for Nashville. So that's kind of my thing there. But yeah, it's
I misspoke a little bit. Larson is the favorite. Hamlin's up there as well, but Larson plus 450, Hamlin plus 550, and then Bell He did open at plus 750. He is now plus 650 at FanDuel.
Yeah. And like, look, there's going to be guys like Ross that are awesome here. Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, of course. But you're saying, can there be a long shot winner? I think so. It's a long shot. But I wouldn't be surprised to see a Bubba or a Cindric or a Hocevar, if that counts as a long shot, or an Allmendinger or a Ricky Stenhouse Jr. winning here. I honestly would not be surprised. And Austin Dillon, I would not be surprised, because last year the best car did not win. In fact, it was probably about a 12th place car that won, and somewhere in there, 12th to 15th place car with Joey Logano. I actually watched that race last night. While I was kind of unwinding from my busy day. That race was absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, Denny Hamlin obviously should have won that race, but Joey Logano won on the craziest fuel mileage save you will ever see. So can a long shot win? Absolutely. I think that
Daniel Hemrick finished 9th last year. That's how crazy that race was.
I mean, there was points last year. I remember thinking I need to live bet Corey LaJoie, Carson Hocevar, Zane Smith. I may even have with a couple of those guys. And then Bubba Wallace got gas at one point ahead of everybody. I thought maybe Bubba Wallace would win just because if everybody else ran out of gas, he was the one with the next most fuel. Chase Briscoe at one point had the next most fuel, even though he's not been that great at Nashville. So like it got to the end there and like you could see yourself live betting 5 or 6 different drivers because that's how crazy it got. Can it happen? Absolutely. But if we don't get that Austin Cindric caution with 2 to go, Denny Hamlin easily wins that race. So that's kind of more what we expect is one of these top drivers is going to win the race, but there's no doubt things can happen. It's NASCAR racing. Things can happen.
I will note, the first race here, Kyle Larson dominated the hell out of it. Led 264 laps, went to victory lane. And he's been good at Nashville since. But I honestly would not have him as the favorite this weekend because every single year since that dominating win in 2021, which is the first race here, he has not had race winning speed or anywhere near it. He has not led a single lap since 2021 here. He has not had his best driver rating since 2021 is 108.8, which, I mean, good, but that's not Kyle Larson good. That's not should be the favorite heading into, I mean, he probably should be the favorite heading into the weekend. He's probably going to qualify well. He's going to practice well. But this is the type of weekend where I think someone like a Kyle Larson, I think there's definitely, I'm curious to see the kind of speed that other guys, particularly as we talked about, maybe Toyota is lacking a little speed, whether Denny Hamlin is as strong as he has been here. I think this is obviously a very good track for Denny Hamlin. This is a good time to for Toyota to show their speed. Chastain, will he have the speed that he's always had here? But I think it's a little more open than a lot of people think, with Larson being the favorite. Not to mention, this is going to be a Sunday night race. So that always plays into a bit of a factor and how that's going to affect these cars.
Absolutely. Which will change things because last year was a day race. And I was rewatching that race last night. Who's sitting there in 10th place for that whole stint before all the craziness happened?
Who?
The driver of the number 51 car that we were shitting on earlier, Justin Haley, in the Rick Ware racing car, was sitting there 10th for the whole last stint until it got crazy. But then I go look at Justin Haley's results at Nashville, and that was like his only good result. He got screwed over by the fuel stuff, finished 13th. But you go to the previous 2 years before that, he finished 23rd and 23rd. So, and that was with Colleague. And, his teammate AJ Allmendinger, I'm sure, outshined him. And even Daniel Hemrick, potentially, I guess Hemrick was last year. But, yeah, I mean, it's a spot where, we can get some of these long shot drivers to finish in the top 10, get close. Like, I have a hard time just kind of wanting to bet this race simply because without a lot of that craziness, I think we're going to get a lot of the favorites. And then a couple of your guys, like not yours specifically, but like a couple of your being in the general public guys, like your AJ Allmendingers, your Austin Dillons, maybe your Daniel Suarez is something like that can pop into the top 10 because they're good at this track.
Yeah. Like I said, I immediately jumped on Austin Dillon top 10, 14-1. I was not going to pass that up. The other one that I was eyeing when FanDuel dropped their lines was Justin Haley, ironically. But even at 17-1, which it still is right now, I didn't bite, and I can't see myself biting.
Yeah, that was the same for me. I was like, I kind of want to bite on him, but I just haven't been able to / can't with Justin Haley. How about, let me throw one out there. Riley Herbst has finished 2nd and 3rd at Nashville in the Xfinity Series, and 6th in his most recent Nashville Xfinity race, but 2nd and 3rd the years prior to that. And he loved for a 19-1 Riley Herbst top 10.
Man, so if you remember back to last year's Nashville race, that's when I hit Hemrick 27-1 top 10. If Herbst gets to 27-1, yes. I'm not interested I'm not interested at 19 though. That car has just been but you make a good point though with how good he was in the Xfinity Series here.
Yeah. No, it seems like he's always been good here. I'm trying to look. They didn't run in 2020 here. But in 2021 is when he first joined Stewart-Haas Racing in the Xfinity Series. He got 10th, then 3rd, then 2nd, then 6th. So pretty solid runs at Nashville for Riley Herbst. I'm trying to look at other concrete tracks in the Xfinity Series. Didn't seem to be all that great at Dover. Okay at Bristol. So tough to say with him. But yeah, I think maybe you want him to drift to 27 and pull a Daniel Hemrick move there for sure.
Yeah, if he gets 27, I think I could get behind that. Maybe sprinkling a little bit on it. But other than that, I also feel like, a lot of these long shot guys are kind of accurately priced. Like SVG, we talked about him before, kind of improving lately. He's 12-1. That's not good enough for me to get it. John Hunter Nemechek has shown better speed as of late. He is sitting at 10-1. That is not good enough for me to hit. Todd Gilliland's also at 10-1. As much as I like Gilly Gang, I don't see him as an actual top 10 threat at intermediate tracks. Although I will note he is improving, but a lot of that is due to just not wrecking and then being on the lead lap at the end, and he'll get a 15th place finish.
Yeah, you mentioned John Hunter Nemechek won the Nashville race last year in Xfinity, finished 6th in his other Xfinity start, and 9th and 10th in his 2 Truck Series starts. So yeah, I don't think I can get there at 10-1 at JHN, even though he's been posting a lot of good intermediate track results. So this is our 4th straight intermediate track race, right? And in those previous races, John Hunter Nemechek grabbed an 8th and a 10th, and then 27th this past weekend at Charlotte.
But he was a lot better than that at Charlotte. I forget what happened to him, but he finished top 10 in the stage in the first 2 stages, I believe. Yeah,
he was up front. He was really good in flags, I think, as well. Or I know at least he qualified well and ran well, finished in, like you said, in the stage points in both stage 1 and stage 2. So maybe some positive signs there for John Hunter Nemechek as well. But you know what I'm going to be doing for this race as far as betting? Probably waiting for flags. It's been smacking at these intermediates. May as well just keep rolling with it.
Browsing these lines, see if anything else sticks out. Like I said, I'm kind of on Bell. I'd be more on him if he was at plus 750, but he's went down to plus 650. One guy, and I'm gonna say this probably every week, Chase Briscoe. I don't know what to do with this guy. He looked like dog shit for most of Charlotte, despite starting on the pole, then came back and finished 3rd.
Yep.
That's back-to-back top 5 finishes for him. He finished 4th at Kansas. This 19 car has been really good at Nashville with Truex behind the wheel. Can Briscoe do it this week? I don't know. I honestly have no idea. He didn't even have that much speed before qualifying last year, or last week at Charlotte. Then he goes out, wins a pole out of nowhere, and top Toyota. So Briscoe's a guy to keep an eye on, I think, as that team just continues to.
Here's another guy I don't know what to do with. Ty Gibbs. if we look, and shout outs to Chris Pennell for putting this chart out here on Twitter. But if we look at average running position and driver rating, Ty Gibbs is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th in both average running position and driver rating at concrete tracks in the next gen era. But he's also been dog shit this year.
That's interesting.
So, and he finished third at Bristol, a concrete track this year, right? So, do we have to get on Ty Gibbs this week?
Is this the week to buy low on Ty Gibbs?
I know. Is it another buy low spot? It's tough to say.
I'm looking this up quick.
I mean, that's ahead of Ryan Blaney, Chris Buescher, William Byron, Alex Bowman, Brad Keselowski, Bubba Wallace. A lot of these guys here. Kyle Busch, he's Tyler Reddick. He's ranking ahead of all of these guys at concrete tracks in average running position and driver rating.
You know what's interesting is that's heavily anchored by Bristol.
Sure.
But I still think it's noteworthy that he is that good because he's not that good at Dover. Right. He's 13th and 10th. His driver ratings haven't been that great there.
You look at last year, Ty Gibbs 6th in stage 1 and then didn't have a great finish because of all the fuel shenanigans. But I remember, looking last night and he was doing okay. And then his rookie year at Nashville, Ty Gibbs did not grab any stage points. Seems like he was just kind of a 14th place car. So it's probably, like you said, pretty heavily anchored by Bristol, but he hasn't been horrible at Dover. He has a 13th and a 10th at Dover. I believe in his only 2 starts there in the Cup Series. So
I could definitely see this being a buy low week on Gibbs, but also I'm not betting him top 10 at plus 125.
No, exactly. Like that's too short, or plus 150 at Caesars. Like that's just too short.
Yeah, I'm not betting him outright at 30 or wherever he's at.
Nope.
It's just one of those situations where he's kind of not priced correctly, but despite
there are potential signs of a breakout race for him.
Yeah.
Potential.
I see Caesars must have posted their top 10 odds since the last time I looked. John Hunter Nemechek at 12-1. There's a little bit better than FanDuel.
Yeah, they only have the best price on John Hunter Nemechek, Eric Jones, Austin Cindric, and some of the shorter odds guys like Ty Gibbs, Bowman, Kyle Busch.
Corey Himes in this race. In the 67 for 2311. That 2311 car?
Yeah. 2311.
He's always like whenever Heim or someone like that's in the race, to me it's just another spot that could potentially fill or take away from my long shot top 10 bets,
Yeah. That's all it can do. Take away potential for other top 10 drivers. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. You got anything else for Nashville? I know you weren't super prepared.
Just real quick, let me look at one other driver that just came to mind. I feel like he's probably going to be pretty good here. Maybe not. I don't know. What do you think of Kyle Busch? Last year, he was running in the second row when all the shit hit the fan. He hasn't had the greatest results here, but last year he was really good in that 8 car. And we seemed to like Austin Dillon, his teammate, at relative prices. And, back in the day and way back when in Nashville, he was good in, he's good everywhere in Xfinity and trucks, but you get the point. Like, he's always been pretty good at Nashville.
And you look at 3 of the 4 next gen races for Kyle Busch, he's led here at Nashville, at least 10 laps. Obviously, he had those issues last year. He didn't lead last year, but with the
last
intermediate
year,
speed,
arguably was his best Nashville race, even though he didn't lead. Like, it was arguably his best one in terms of like how he was running. He was right up there near the end of the race in terms of like speed and track position and all that stuff. But got caught up in one of those late race incidents. He actually was shoving Kyle Larson. Larson ran out of fuel. And so Chase Elliott, it's restart, right? Everybody's shoving everybody. And Larson runs out of fuel, which backs up Kyle Larson to Chase Elliott, and Elliott spins him. No fault of anybody's there. It's just when the leader of a line runs out of fuel, shit's going to hit the fan, right? But
yeah,
Kyle Busch was second in line there. So he had a chance to win that race.
He's another one of those guys. You can get him at plus 150 for a top 10 at Caesars. I'm not betting that. I could see him having speed. I could also see him not. Kyle Busch has not had a single-digit finish since Phoenix in March.
Yep.
One top 5 finish this year. If you know me, I don't make season-long bets, but my one season-long bet of the year was Kyle Busch under 1.5 wins. So every week that goes by that we talk about Kyle Busch not really having race-winning speed, I'm happy.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's a good one. We haven't really talked about him. Tyler Reddick.
I don't think he's priced short enough.
Yeah, he did finish third last year.
Yeah, but again, it was all the craziness, right? He finished third last year, but it was craziness. Finished 6th the year before, 18th the year before that with Richard Childress, 18th the year before that, which was, again, Richard Childress last year of the Gen 6 car.
I will note that he did finish third and second in the 2 stages here last year, and he did win a stage in 2023.
Yeah. I mean, he always has the upside to pop pretty much anywhere except maybe Martinsville. But he's just a guy that I don't think he's consistently up there enough at this track. And you look at like the concrete graph that Chris Pennell put out, he's way down there, and he's usually good at Bristol. So it's kind of interesting. He's way down there. If he's good at Bristol and good at Dover, it maybe means Nashville's one of his arguably worst tracks of the concrete. Tough to say.
So, yeah. All right. You got anything else before we get to our picks?
No, I do not.
All right. Let's see here. Picks to win last week, you had Tyler Reddick. Speaking of the guy, I had Christopher Bell. Tyler Reddick, of course, had that penalty late. He finished 26th after running top 5 for most of the day at Charlotte. Christopher Bell, for me, ended up finishing 8th, which extends my streak of my picks to win, finishing 8th or better to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 races in a row.
Wow.
After my awful start to the season, I will take that.
Yep.
Pick to win, I go first here. My pick to win, Nashville. You know what? Give me Chastain back to back.
I like it. He's definitely on the radar. I'm going to go revenge tour. Guy who should have won last year, Denny Hamlin.
Are we sure Denny Hamlin should have won and not Christopher Bell?
Last year at Nashville? Absolutely. Hamlin was the car that was leading when all the shit hit the fan, and he had like 4 restarts where he was leading.
Bell swept the stages and led 131.
Yeah, but Denny Hamlin led the whole last part of the race.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, it was kind of between those two all day, wasn't it?
Denny Hamlin, that was the one where he remarked, like, I was 150 and 100 and 150 feet or whatever it was from winning the race. And, he had like 3 restarts in overtime where he was leading and kept leading until he had to pit for fuel.
Well, hopefully his team can get the fuel cell full this week.
Well, they did get it full. It's just
no, Charlotte last week.
Right. That's a good point. I was gonna say last year they did. It's just the Toyotas don't make as good mileage as the Fords. So
yeah. All right, I'm on Chastain. You're on Hamlin. Probably the two. I mean, over the last 3 races here, 2 of the best guys as far as average driver rating goes. 36 for 36. You had Chastain last week. I had William Byron. I'm sticking with it. I'm going Chastain this week at Nashville.
Nice. I like it. I don't believe I've used this driver. Do we have a recap of all our picks somewhere? No. We need to do that because I'm starting to forget who I'm using.
I know.
I believe I have not used Austin Dillon.
I've been using my actual 36 for 36 entry. That's how I know. As far as I have it marked here back to Phoenix. So all I'm missing here is Daytona and Coda, and you wouldn't have used Austin Dillon there, so you have not used Austin Dillon.
I'll take Austin Dillon. I know I could save him for Richmond, but I also like taking him here.
I thought about Austin Dillon, but I'm going to save him for Richmond.
Yeah, I mean Richmond's the other spot, right? Like I think it's here or Richmond, and I have other drivers that I'm eyeing for Richmond as well.
Mm-hmm. All right, I got Chastain. You got Austin Dillon, and yeah, I'll get some initiative here soon and update. I know I say that every week, but one of these weeks I'm going to actually do it. All right. DraftKings last week. You got the win. 169, nice, 0.65 to my 111.7. Neither of us did very good. It brings the season totals to, I am now at 2584.4. You are at 2506.65. So just under 80 points behind.
Yep.
Which again is crazy. But let me share my screen here. And there we go.
Just need to log in.
All right. So as I always do, I like looking at the lower dollar guys first. I like Austin Dillon this week, so I think I'm going to hit him at 5,800. I'm very curious about taking Ty Gibbs after we talked about him on concrete. I think he could be solid here. Bubba Wallace is very intriguing at 7,000. For now, I'm going to put him on here. I'm going to throw Bubba Wallace on there. Give me Kyle Busch at 8,000. I'm going to take Chase Elliott, who's really good here and on concrete, at 9,500. I'm going to go Chastain again. All right, I'm going to have to cut some money here because I want to get one of the top guys. Okay, if I want to get to – do I want Eric Jones or do I want Ricky Stenhouse Jr.?
You always want Stenhouse here. Concrete.
All right, give me Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and boom, Christopher Bell. All right, Christopher Bell, Ross Chastain, Chase Elliott, Kyle Busch, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Austin Dillon. That's my lineup.
So you can leave Stenhouse up and Ross Chastain up and Austin Dillon up.
All right, let me just grab this quick. Or I'll just
I forgot you had to enter it.
Either that or I'll forget to actually enter them, and then I won't track them.
Yeah.
And all right, Stenhouse, Austin Dillon, and Chastain, you said?
Stenhouse, Chastain, and Austin Dillon. Yeah, you can leave those guys up.
All right.
Give me Denny Hamlin. Give me Chase Elliott.
You're going basically what I did.
And give me.
I have a feeling you're going to go Hocevar.
I think he's going to qualify really well. I think.
Mm-hmm.
He does have an early.
He does have an early.
Oh yeah, because
spot,
blowing the engine. Damn it.
Mm-hmm.
Damn it. Damn it. Damn it. Damn it.
Yeah, Hocevar. I think Hocevar goes out 6th.
You know, so actually, let me edit this a little bit. Take down Chase Elliott.
Okay.
Give me Bubba Wallace. That price is ridiculous. $7K.
Yeah. I agree.
And I think I'd rather just have Chase Elliott than Ryan Blaney. So put back Chase Elliott. We're just gonna leave 700 on the table or whatever it is. 800 on the table.
800. Wow.
There it is. That's my line.
I was surprised you didn't cut down like Austin Dillon or Stenhouse to someone else and then go Bell.
Well, actually, yeah. Let me look at that before we finalize that.
You could go John Hunter Nemechek or John Hunter Nemechek over Dillon or Jones over Stenhouse.
I could go AJ Allmendinger over Austin Dillon.
No, you couldn't. Oh, right now you could, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Or I could get all the way up to Daniel Suarez if I take down Stenhouse and leave Austin Dillon because I love the Austin Dillon value. And Suarez has not been qualifying great. Yeah, give me Suarez over Stenhouse.
So you're going Hamlin, Chastain, Elliott, Bubba Wallace, Daniel Suarez, Austin Dillon.
Yep.
All right. We got somewhat similar, but pretty decent, different lineups. So we are in.
Dude, it feels like having like Hamlin, Ross, and Elliott is kind of nice.
Yeah. I think it's going to be the issue this week. I think is going to be just looking at pricing, as if Larson comes out and looks like he's going to dominate. Oh,
yeah, exactly. But then we're both in the same boat on that.
Yeah, but other than that, I think pricing is pretty soft this week for making like a 3-core lineup like that of 3 guys that could win this race for sure.
Yep. I agree. Do we have anything else? So we done our picks to win, our 36 for 36.
We are all done. Yeah, Larson's at 11. So even then though, he's not that much higher than everybody else. Like this is kind of soft pricing this week for DraftKings.
Sure is. Well, I'll be right back. You keep talking. I'll be right back, Jordan. I just got to grab something real quick.
All right. We didn't really talk about the RFK guys and what they can do. I think oh crap, Nick can't even hear me now. But no, I was a bit surprised we didn't get to talk about it. The Fords didn't show a ton of speed at Charlotte. Despite the lower temperatures, I know we talked about that last week in the preview episode, that we thought Ford was going to have that advantage when it comes to speed at night. We'll see whether that happens here at Nashville this week. I'm still talking, and now Nick can hear me again.
Let's see if I can get my headphones on here. So this is why I've been so busy the last 2 days. If you are watching on video, this is my new little 8-week-old kitten that I got yesterday. He was found alone in a storm drain. And my girlfriend and I have been wanting to get a little kitten for a while, and we saw this one online. They thought it was a she at first, but it's actually a he. So we have named him Kurt, Kurt, like Kurt Busch, for Kurt Von Trapp, but also Kurt Busch. So there you go. So that's the last thing I had to introduce and let you all know why I was so busy the last 2 days and haven't prepped for Nashville. He's an absolutely sweet, adorable little boy, 8 weeks old. And so far, nice, clean bill of health. So everybody meet Kurt.
Nice. Welcome to the show, Kurt.
There you go. We're going to do lots more of these, aren't we? Yeah.
I don't know why, but the name Kurt just cracks me up.
I love it. I think it's great. My girlfriend suggested it, and I thought it was hilarious. So
Kurt.
Yeah, it was between Kurt and Benjamin, and we went with Kurt.
Yeah.
We like human names for our pets typically. LB is LB. My dog is LB because that's what he was named at the shelter, and like it's harder to train dogs to a new name, but we tend to like human names for our little ones. That's it. That's all I got.
All right. Well, welcome, Kurt. Hopefully, maybe that'll be an additional boost to your good luck turnaround, and you'll have a good weekend at Nashville. Everybody enjoy the race this weekend, and we'll be back next week to talk about Michigan. First race or second race of June. I think I'm going to go that race.
Nice. That'll be fun. Yeah, you're always relatively close driving distance to it. So
straight up the highway, 2.5 hours. It's literally you're on the same highway.
I will be going to an IndyCar race. I'm quite sure before the end of the season, before NFL starts. So finalizing which one that is, but I was going to do that the last couple of days, and then this thing happened, little Kurt. So wave goodbye to everybody. Bye.
All right. Good luck, everybody. Enjoy the race this weekend. See you guys.